It started like any other quiet morning, the kind you don't remember because nothing is supposed to happen. Just a woman walking her dog, clean pavement underfoot, birds somewhere you can't quite see, and that soft feeling of routine that tells you the world is at least for a moment under control. 3 minutes later, there were handcuffs on her wrists. Yeah, that happened. And the wild part is, it didn't start with yelling or chaos or some dramatic crime scene. It started with a look, the kind of look a lot of people know all too well, the look that says, you don't belong here even when you absolutely do. Now, before I get into the details, let me say this up front. If you've ever been stopped, questioned, talked down to, or made to feel small when you were just minding your own business, you're going to recognize this feeling immediately. You know what I mean? This isn't just a story about a cop and a judge. It's about how fast dignity can disappear when someone with power decides they don't like what they see. It was around mid-morning in Brookhaven Ridge, one of those suburbs people describe as peaceful, with a straight-faced, tree-lined streets, expensive homes, lawns trimmed like they're part of a contest. The kind of place where neighbors smile and wave and tell themselves nothing bad ever really happens here. Elaine Carter loved walking there. She'd lived in that neighborhood for years, paid her taxes on time, knew the names of the people on her block, and every morning she took the same route with her dog Jasper, a big schnauzer mix who walked like he was trained for a parade. Calm, steady, always right at her side. Those walks were her reset button. Elaine spent her days listening to arguments, deciding custody battles, weighing evidence, dealing with the rawest parts of other people's lives. Walking Jasper was how she reminded herself she was still human. She dressed for comfort, not appearances. Walking shoes, old slacks, a fleece jacket. Nothing about her screamed authority, and that was exactly the point. She wasn't Judge Carter on those walks. She was just Elaine. Or at least that's how it was supposed to be. Officer Ryan Holtz didn't see it that way. Holtz was new to the area, transferred from a busier district where things were louder and messier, and Brookhaven Ridge bored him. Too quiet, too clean, too slow. He cruised those streets looking for something to justify the uniform, something that made him feel like he was doing real police work. So when he saw Elaine, she stood out to him immediately, not because she was breaking any law, not because she was acting suspicious, but because she was a black woman walking a large dog in a neighborhood he had already decided wasn't meant for her. He slowed the cruiser and followed her. Elaine noticed, of course she did. You don't get to her age without developing a sixth sense for being watched. She didn't turn around, didn't react, just tightened her grip on the leash a bit and kept walking. She knew she hadn't done anything wrong, and she also knew how quickly that sometimes stops mattering. Holtz pulled ahead and angled his car so it partially blocked the sidewalk, not enough to be obvious, just enough to force a moment. He stepped out, adjusted his vest, already running the script in his head. He'd ask a question, she'd get flustered, he'd feel in control. "Morning," he called out. It wasn't friendly, it was a challenge. Elaine stopped. Jasper sat instantly like he always did. She turned and met his eyes. "Good morning, officer. Do you live around here?" He asked, his tone sharp, his hand hovering near his belt, not on his weapon but close enough to make the point. "I do," Elaine said, nothing more. No explanation, no nervous smile. That bothered him. He wanted her to justify herself. "We've had some reports of suspicious activity," he said, which wasn't true. "Mind showing me some ID?" Elaine looked at his nameplate, R. Holtz, then at the body camera light. She took a breath. "Officer," she said calmly, "I'm walking my dog on a public sidewalk. Unless you have reasonable suspicion that I'm involved in a crime, I'm not required to provide identification." You could almost see the moment it went sideways. Holtz wasn't expecting that. He blinked, his jaw tightened. "I'm conducting an investigation," he snapped, stepping closer. "And I'm ordering you to hand over your ID." "Am I being detained?" Elaine asked. "Or am I free to go?" That question does something to people who aren't used to hearing it. He pivoted fast. "This is about the dog," he said. "Leash laws, licensing. I need to verify ownership." Elaine glanced down. The leash was clearly attached. The license tag was visible, catching the sunlight. "My dog is leashed in compliance with city ordinance," she said. "His license is right there." Holtz felt control slipping and his voice rose. "You're being uncooperative." "No," Elaine replied, her tone steady but firmer now. "I'm asserting my rights." That was it. That was the moment he decided he wasn't going to lose. "Turn around," he barked. "Hands behind your back. Time slows down in moments like that." Elaine knew resisting would only make it worse. She also knew silence could erase the truth. She spoke clearly for the camera. "I am complying under protest. I am not resisting. This detention is unlawful." She dropped the leash. Jasper stayed put, confused but obedient. Holtz grabbed her wrists harder than necessary and snapped the cuffs on tight. "You're hurting me," she said. "You should have thought about that before arguing with the police," he muttered. Across the street, a front door opened. Linda Perez, a retired neighbor, stepped out with her coffee and froze. She knew Elaine. She pulled out her phone and hit record. "I'm filming," she called out. That should have been the end of it. That should have been the moment he stopped, took a breath, reassessed. Instead, he doubled down. "Stay back," he yelled. "That's Judge Carter," Linda shouted. "You're arresting a judge." Holtz froze for a split second, then shook his head. "No, she's not." Judges didn't look like this, he told himself. Judges didn't wear fleece jackets. Judges didn't walk dogs. He shoved Elaine into the back of the cruiser. The ride to the station was quiet. Elaine sat upright, wrists burning mind sharp. She didn't cry, didn't plead. She did what she'd told countless people to do. She stayed silent and memorized everything. At the station, the processing sergeant looked up and went pale. "Officer Holtz," he said slowly. "Do you know who this is?" Elaine met his eyes. He recognized her instantly. The room went quiet. "Get those cuffs off her. Now!" Holtz fumbled with the key. Deep red marks were already forming on her wrists. "I want photos," Elaine said calmly. "Right now." The captain arrived minutes later, apologizing, offering rides home, water, coffee, anything to make it disappear. Elaine refused. "You don't get to erase what happened," she said, "not because of who I am." The lawsuit came fast. The video went viral faster. Holtz's record showed a pattern nobody wanted to explain. The city settled. The badge was taken. Policies were rewritten. Elaine donated the settlement to people who wouldn't have been believed. She still walks Jasper every morning. The patrol cars slow down now. The waves feel different. And she knows something she didn't before, how thin the line really is. So here's what I want to know, and I want you to be honest in the comments. Was this about the law, or about who gets to exist without being questioned? And if Elaine hadn't known her rights, hadn't had her title, how do you think this would have ended? Tell me what you think. Tell me what you've seen. Because these stories don't change anything if we pretend they're rare.